Also, we're going to be talking about IP addressing, subnetting, and then routing. And of course, we're still going to look at some of these devices such as switches, routers, gateways, and so on and so forth. Under zones, segmentation, and trust boundaries, we're going to be talking about DMZ. That's demilitarized zone. What does it mean? We're also going to talk about trusted versus untrusted zones, and so on and so forth. Of course, under section 3, we're going to be looking at traffic flow and inspection points. This has to do with firewall. So these are some of those things you are going to enjoy, the brief ones you are going to enjoy under network security fundamental. Of course, I'm still trying to develop the material. I'm yet to finish them. But let's start. Let us start. Let us get started. So, network layers and protocol. For us to be able to understand network layers and protocol, we need to know what the OSI is all about. All network engineers, all security engineers must understand what network is all, what the OSI is all about, the OSI model. It's also important that you understand what the TCP IP model is also all about. And of course, the OSI is defined as the Open System Interconnect model. The Open Systems Interconnect model. This model was developed by the International Standards Organization. It was developed by the International Standards Organization in the year 1981, if I'm not mistaken. And in this OSI model, there are 7 different layers that it contained. You have 7 different layers in the OSI models. And what does it talk about? Or why is that OSI model important? Of course, the OSI model is very important because it describes how data flows through a network. What happens when you send an email from your PC down to your friend? What are the stages that are involved in the transfer of this, your mail? Or if you are using your phone to send a WhatsApp message, what are the stages it passes through? This is called those stages it passes through is described in the OSI model. So, and that is why as ethical hackers, you need to know where and how to look for vulnerabilities in any of these layers so that you'll be able to protect these layers effectively. Very important that you know these OSI and TCP models. Also, when you are troubleshooting network, maybe your system is down, it's not connecting to the network. With the knowledge of the OSI TCP IP model, you should be able to know where the problem is coming from. Is it coming from the cable? Is it that the network is not properly configured? Could it be that the application that you have that is running on that system, the protocol is not working? And that is why it is important for you to understand this model. I hope I am audible. Derasimi, you say you can't hear me. What about now?
I can hear you now, sir.
That's fine. That's fine. Thank you very much. Okay, let's go. Now, this is the OSI model. In this OSI model table, I defined each of the OSI. Remember, I said it consists of 7 layers. So to my left-hand side is where I have the layers of the OSI model. While to my right-hand side, I have the TCP IP model. While the OSI models consist of several layers, the TCP IP model consists of just 4 layers. And of course, the last layer of the OSI model is called the application layer, and that's layer 7. After the application layer, you have the presentation layer. After the presentation layer, you have the session layer. After the session layer, you have the transport layer. After the transport layer, then you have the network layer. And of course, we also have the last 2 layers, which are the data link and the physical layer. So these are the layers that you have under the OSI model. Of course, it's very important that we learn how to remember these layers. And there's an acronym that is very common or that is very familiar. Let me see how I can draw that acronym. Let me see. Okay, so let me quickly type the acronym. All people seems to to know, supposed to be care no, but you can use no data processing. Okay, let me see. It. Chopping it now. Yeah, so that's one of the acronyms. All people seems to know data processing. Okay, sorry, need data processing. Yeah, all people seems to need data processing. So that's the acronym for the OSI model. So now, if you look at it, like I mentioned earlier, the OSI model consists of 7 layers. Now, if you look at the comparison of the OSI model to good. So the TCP model, where you have the application, you will see that the application consists of layer 5, 6, and 7 of the TCP model. Layer 5, that's session, presentation, and application. That is what is a combination. They are all combined together to form the application layer for the TCP IP model. Also, the transport layer, under the TCP IP model, the transport layer still remains the same. It is still the transport layer. And under the network is also the same. For the TCP model, you still have the same network. And what is that network? You have it as the internet. Then the last one is the link layer for the TCP model. Under the link layer, you have it as a combination of both the physical layer and data link layer of the OSI model. Now, let us look at the functions one after the other. The functions one after the other, starting from layer 7, where you have the application layer. What does it do? The function is to provide services such as email, file sharing, file transfers, and then file servers. So that's where you get your services that you use, your email services, your file transfer services, your file servers, and so on and so forth. So the protocol that is involved under application layer are, you have protocols like HTTP protocol, you have the FTP protocol and TFTP protocol. TFTP protocol and FTP protocol. These are another layers that the protocols that you have under the applications layer. You also have the DNS layer. Sorry, the DNS protocol, the SMTP protocol, and then you have the SNMP protocol. Of course, we all know what the HTTP protocol is all about. The HTTP protocol, that one is your web. We also, your web protocol, and the protocol is protocol number 80. While for the secure one, secure HTTP, is the HTTPS protocol. That one too is under the application layer. So HTTPS uses port 443. While your FTP layer is used for file transfer. Of course, the DNS layer, sorry, the DNS protocol is used for your website IP address. Take, for example, if you want to visit google.com, of course, nobody can remember the IP address of google.com. But we all know that when we type google.com to our web browser, what it does in the background is to convert that google.com into an IP address, and that is a function of the DNS. You also have the SMTP and then SNMP protocols. So all these protocols, they are found under the layer 7 of the OSI model that is called the application layer. Under the layer 6, you have the presentation layer. Layer 6 is the presentation layer, and what does it do? It provides encryption, data formatting, code conversion. That is what the layer 6 does. Before it is being presented to the application layer, it does conversion. It does conversion. And what are the protocols you have under the presentation layer? You have an example is MPEG. We all know what MPEG is for. JPEG, TIFF, these are examples of pictures, the version of your picture. So these are under the presentation layer of the OSI model, and that is layer 6. Now, under layer 5, you have the session layer. And what does the session layer does? It has to do with establishing connection with the computer or with another computer. Establishing connection with your computer or another computer. So it is responsible for establishing, managing, and then terminating computer sessions or communication sessions between one computer and the other. So what are the protocols that you have there? You have the SQL, the ASP, NFS, and so on and so forth. Also, under the layer 4 is the transport layer. What does the transport layer do? Of course, transport layer has to do with the delivery of data, end-to-end delivery of data. And what do you have under transport layer? Which protocols? We have two major protocols there, and these are the UTP and the TCP and the UDP protocols. These are the major protocols that you can find under the transport layer. So, like I mentioned earlier, the TCP model, the application layer is a combination of layer 5, 6, and 7 of the OSI model. Now, going to the transport layer of the OSI model is the same with the transport layer of the TCP model. So when you're talking about the protocols, either on the OSI model or the TCP model of the layer 4, this is known as the TCP and UDP. One is reliable and the other one is not reliable. TCP is reliable while UDP is unreliable. Now, under layer 3 of the OSI model, you have what is called the network layer. And what does the network layer do? That is where it performs packet routing. That is the routing of packets that is performed under the layer 3 model, which is the network model. Under the TCP IP model, it is called the internet. It is called the internet model. And the protocols that you have under there, you have the IP, that's Internet Protocol, you have the OSPF, you have the RIP, you have the ICMP. ICMP is a command prompt that you use for pinging. Use it for pinging. While under layer 2 and layer 1 of the OSI model, which is a physical and data link, they are combined together under the TCP model to form the link layer. And before we move to the link layer, what do we have under the layer 2 of the OSI model? As layer 2 is the data link, and this is where there is error checking is done. Also, under this layer 2, you have transfer of message frames, and that's where you have your Ethernet, your token, and so on. You can also have your 802.11, which has to do with your Wi-Fi in that layer. And layer 1 has to do with the physical layer. This physical layer provides the physical or the medium for data transmission. It provides the physical or medium for transmission of data over the network. Of course, you understand that if you want to connect two systems together, the first thing you will do is to get a network cable, isn't it? That's your network cable is called the physical medium because that is the medium through which you'll be able to, for your two devices to communicate together when they are connected. So that is the layer 1 model. So layer 1 and layer 2, which is the physical and the data link together, forms what is known as the link model under the TCP IP model. Is there anyone that has a question regarding this OSI model? Is there any question on this OSI model? Okay, that's fine. Not yet on your part. Okay, so if there is no question on that OSI model, then we can move to the next slide. Don't forget, for the TCP/IP model, you have just 4 layers, which are the link, internet, transport, and application. You can also shorten it as or abbreviate it as LITA, LITA, where L stands for link, I stands for internet, T transport, and then A application. So let's move to the next slide. Now, remember I mentioned earlier under this slide that as cybersecurity professionals, we need to be able to understand layer 2, 3, 4, and 7 very well so that we can be able to protect the network. So now let's start with layer 2. Yeah, layer 2, which is the data link layer. What is involved in this data link layer? The data link layer is the layer that is responsible for node to node data transfer and error detection and correction. That is, it transfers data between devices on the same network. So you can ensure that your data is transmitted to the correct device on the network. So imagine if the network cable is not connected. Will you be able to have a connection? No, you'll not be able to have a connection. So for you to be able to transfer data, you must have set up the number 1 layer, which is the physical layer. It must be working. If your layer 1 that has to do with cable connection, the physical layer is not working, then you will not be able to get to layer 2, which has to do with the data link layer. And of course, like I mentioned, the data link layer ensures that your data is transmitted to the correct device on the local network segment. And what are the technologies that are used under this layer? You have the Ethernet, you also have the media access control. The media access control is your MAC address. Now, when we're talking of MAC address, every computer system, every computer or every laptop or every desktop has what is called the MAC address. This MAC address is different from what's it called, the IP address. Take for example, if you have your laptop there, sorry, my system is hanging. Okay, it's coming up now. If you have your system, your laptop, go to your CMD. And how do you access your CMD? Press your start on your Windows 11 or your Windows 10. When you press start, type CMD. First, let me know how many of us have the laptop close to us here. Where's my screen? How many of us have our laptop close to us there so that we can look at how to get our MAC address? Okay, fine. Michael said it is. So on your system, click on the start menu and type CMD. You have something like a command prompt. Let me share my screen for others who might not have their systems with them. Stop sharing. Oh, my system is still coming up. Hmm. All right, that's my CMD. So now to get my laptop MAC address, you type ipconfig, then /all. Under the IP config/all, you can see the host name appearing, and under the Ethernet adapter Ethernet, you will see the physical address 9457A5BA6A23. That is my laptop's MAC address for my Ethernet adapter. So this is what is used under under layer 2 of the data link, layer 2, which is the data link layer of the OSI model. Where's my, hold on, just let me share my screen. Okay, that's it. So that is what you have under the layer 2 of the OSI model, which has to do with the data link. So now, why is this? Why should you be interested in this? You see, it's very possible for hackers or attackers or cyber criminals to conduct what is known as MAC spoofing on your system. And what does MAC spoofing does? The aim is to create another MAC address that looks like yours, but is not yours on the network, to send information to the system. That is what MAC spoofing is all about. And so it's very important that we understand this layer so that we can be able to, you know, we can be able to secure our network very well. Also, under the data link layer, there is what is known as the app spoofing or app poisoning. This is a situation whereby an attacker or a cyber criminal sends fake app messages on the network, intercepting traffic that is meant to be sent to another user or to a legitimate user. But when app spoofing is done or app poisoning is done on the network, attackers can hijack that network. They can intercept the network. And this can also lead to what is known as the man in the middle attack. So when you are hearing of man in the middle attacks, this can happen under the data link layer, which is the layer 2 of the OSI model. Sometimes you also hear of people talking about Wi-Fi sniffing or Wi-Fi hijacking. Yes, Wi-Fi attack or wireless attack can also occur under the data link layer of the OSI model, which is layer 2. So it is very possible for hackers to change the MAC address of a system, and that is done by what is called the MAC spoofing. So when they do that, they'll be able to connect to the network. And once they are on the network, of course, they can carry out their malicious activities, such as that one that is called the man in the middle attacks. So as an ethical hacker, what should you do? You need to ensure that you configure secure switching. Ensure that if if you have a switch that permits ARP app, you need to configure what is known as dynamic app inspection. This will always ensure that app spoofing does not occur on your network. Once you configure what is known as dynamic app inspection on your network, on your switch, it will always ensure or protect your system or your switch or your network from what is known as app spoofing. There's also what is called port security. So as an ethical hacker, you should be also able to inform your network engineers that they should enable port security on their network. Port security, an example of it is when you go to a place, maybe you go to a location, you go to a company, and then they ask you to wait. You are waiting maybe to meet the person you have contacted. When you are there, you see a free network port. You say, okay, let me connect this network to my system. If you plug in, if you connect your laptop to that free network port, of course, if port security is enabled on the network, that system will not be able to connect to the network. So take, for example, if you are a vendor, you are working for a company, and you've gone to the company to say, okay, you want to work for them as a vendor, and all of a sudden there's a need for you to access their intranet or to access their network. If you plug your RJ45 to that network port on the wall and connect it to your laptop, if port security is enabled, you'll not be able to have access to the network until you call the network team to disable the port for you, or to disable, to ensure that they enable the port for you to be able to use. So that is what is known as the port security. So you can see that it's very important, it's very vital that as a network, as an ethical hacker, you understand what layer 2 of the OSI model is all about, which has to do with the data link. Now, what about the network layer, which is layer 3? The network layer, this is where you have what is known as the network layer. And what does the network layer does? What it does is to route data between different networks. And the common protocol under the network layer, you have the IP, which is the internet protocol. You also have the routers. Remember, in that table, I mentioned RIP protocols, OSPF, and so on and so forth. OSPF, RIP, these are configured under the network layer, and you can configure OSPF and RIP on the router. So that's why you have it here, common protocol, the routers, where you can configure something like OSPF, RIP, and so on, BGP. So these are the protocols you can find under the layer 3 network. So what can the hackers do under the network layer? What can they do? There's what is known as IP spoofing or IP address spoofing. Now, what is IP spoofing? IP spoofing means to create a false IP address, a false source IP address to impersonate another computer on the network. To create a false source IP address in order to impersonate another computer on the network. So, as an ethical hacker, you must understand how to identify when an IP is fake. And what will help you, there are tools that you can use to be able to detect that on the network. Also, hackers can use Nmap, tools like Nmap, to discover which host is available on the network. Host refers to your devices that you have on the network. This could mean your PC, be your printer, and so on and so forth. Any devices that has an IP address is called host. So with a tool like Nmap, you can be able to scan which of these endpoint devices are available on the network. Also, under the network scanning, you can also identify the services that are running on your network. So during the course of this training, I'm going to introduce you to how to use Nmap to do that, to discover hosts, to see the services that are running on the network, and so on and so forth. And of course, under the network layer, that is where attackers or cyber criminals can perform a DOS attack, and that has to do with sending many pings requests. Of course, this ping request is the ICMP command, ICMP protocol. So they send many ping requests to a target system. Why? To overwhelm the network, to ensure that that system is overwhelmed and it crashes. That is what the DOS attack is all about. Sending too many ping requests to a particular system just to ensure that that system crashed. And so, as an ethical hacker, what do you do? It's important that you understand how to use the network scanning tools. This will help you to know which device, which host belongs to you, which host does not belong to you. With the network scanning tool, you can also see those services that their port are open and should not be opened because of attackers or because of cyber criminals. So it's very important that you understand how to use those scanning tools. Some of them, you can find a lot of them under Kali Linux. So I'm still going to introduce it to the Kali Linux. But you need to understand that under this layer 3, which has to do with network layer, the job or the function is to route data between networks. And then you have to be very careful. Why? Because hackers can then hijack that network by creating a false source IP address. Do we have any questions so far? Is there any questions so far? Or is it looking more technical now? Okay, yeah, Michael, you have a question, right?
Yeah, when you talked about common protocol under routers, please, the RIP means what, please?
RIP protocol.
Under
It means routing information protocol. RIP.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. You can also check the full details online, RIP, OSPF, and so on and so forth. And also what we know as IGP and so on. So these are configurations that you can find or you can configure on your router. So they are all done under the network layer, not the data link layer. Can be done under the network layer, which is layer 3 of the OSI model. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Okay, yeah. All right, so let's move to the next one, which is the layer 4. Now, the layer 4 model has to do with the transport layer model. Now, this transport layer is layer 4 of the OSI model. And what does it do? It provides end-to-end reliable data delivery between applications, computers, and so on and so forth. And what do we mean by end-to-end data delivery? The protocols that you have there are two protocols. It uses two protocols, and these are the TCP and UDP. They ensure data integrity, they manage the data flow, and then they ensure that the data is sent to the correct application and to the right destination. So when we are talking about the TCP, it provides reliable services or reliable data delivery. But when we're talking about the UDP means user datagram protocol, while TCP means transmission control protocol. So one is connection oriented, the other one is connectionless. The one that is connection oriented is the TCP, which is reliable. So it sends the data in an ordered manner and also performs what is known as error checking to detect if what is sent is delivered or not. But under the UDP, which is the user datagram protocol, it is known as connectionless. Although it is fast, but it is not reliable. So when speed is needed, you can use UDP. But if you need a guaranteed delivery, you use the TCP protocol. Now, why should this be important to us as an ethical hacker? Why? Because the hackers or the cyber criminals can focus on the ports that are opened on your system. And how do they do this? Remember the network scanning we talked about. Yes, through network or port scanning, they can be able to identify open ports. And through the open ports, they can be able to connect to the network. So it is advisable that the ports that should be opened on the system or your switch should be those ones that you actually need. The other ones that you don't need, services that you don't need, you ensure that those ports are not open, they are closed. Why? Very important so that hackers will not be able to penetrate into your network through those open ports. There is also what is known as session hijacking, and that has to do with taking over an existing TCP session. So it's also very important that we understand what this TCP, which is transport layer session, transport layer model is all about, so that we can be able to protect the transport layer. There is also a form of attack that is known as flood attacks. What does flood attack means? It means sending lots of TCP connection requests, just like the DOS attack. You send lots of TCP connection requests to overwhelm a system, to crash a system, to disrupt services that are running on the system. So these are the kind of things that attackers or cyber criminals can do under the transport layer. So as an ethical hacker, what should you know? Or what are the tips you need to keep in mind? You need to be able to understand those ports that are available, that is the ports that are opened versus the ports that are closed. If there is any port that is not configured properly, of course, you need to quickly work on that port, ensuring that that port is closed as soon as possible. Of course, there is also what is known as vulnerability assessment. Vulnerability assessment is to identify weaknesses on a system. So you carry out a checklist to identify which of your application is vulnerable, which of your system or your network or devices on your networks are vulnerable. So Reader should be able to identify any of the ports that are vulnerable to attack. So that is what you have under the layer 4 session. And the last one, which is the layer 7 session, that as an ethical hacker you also need to know, and that is the application layer. Application layer is where you as a user, you interface directly with your applications, with the user's applications. And what are the examples of this? You have your browsers, you have your email client, you have your file transfer sessions and all that. So why is this very important? It's very important for you to be able to know the kind of attacks that can also occur under this application layer. Just as I mentioned that under the application layer, the main job is to act as a primary interface between the user and then the network devices that are running on your system. Take for example, on all operating systems, you have browsers. So these browsers make use of the protocol that we know as the HTTP protocols and the HTTPS protocols for our web servers. So we need to understand when these protocols are prone to attack, when they are vulnerable. We also need to understand how to protect these protocols. Part of the protocols we also have under the application layer is the DNS, the file transfer protocol, that is used for transferring files between computers over the network. Then the DNS is the one that translates, like I mentioned earlier, your website address, the email readable website address to IP addresses. In the earlier discussion, I gave an instance of when you go to google.com on your browser, because by the time you type google.com, www.google.com on your browser, so the system is not saying google.com, it is saying the IP address of Google. So what can be done under this application layer? What are the hackers' focus? Don't forget that I mentioned earlier that the browser or your web server can use the protocol that is known as HTTP and HTTPS. Now, under the web application, which is your web server, attackers or cyber criminals can perform an attack that is known as SQL injection or cross-site scripting injection. Sorry, cross-site scripting attack. We can also perform what is known as file inclusion attack. These are the form of attacks that you can find under the web application attack. Also, in this layer, the hackers can create what is known as phishing. And what is that phishing? It has to do with creating fake applications or fake websites or sending a fake link to you. And of course, once you open your mail and you mistakenly click on that link, it can lead to an attack. They can take control over your system, or they can be able to penetrate into your system. For the SQLI injection, it has to do with exploiting the database security vulnerabilities. While the cross-site scripting, that one mainly attacks the JavaScript, that's inserting of a malicious code into your web application. That is what the cross-site scripting does. We insert malicious code into the web application in order to redirect the user from a legitimate website to their own malicious website. Also, The attackers can also exploit the APIs, yes, by taking advantage of APIs that are not configured properly or that are not well secured. So there's an application that is called Cybersecurity. Oh, sorry, I don't know. I've been disconnected since. Sorry, can someone tell me where I stopped? Hello, can you hear me? Please, can someone tell me where I stopped before the network took me out of the okay layer 7? No, that's fine. Show my screen. Yeah, so under the layer 7, let me quickly repeat myself again. I mentioned that the layer 7 is the one that that is where the user interface with the applications running on the system. It acts as a primary interface between user-facing software and network services, and it allows you to perform, functions such as browsing a website or checking your email address, checking your emails. And the protocols then we have it as HTTP, HTTPS, DNS, FTP, of sending of file, sharing of file. That is what the FTP protocol is all about. The SMTP is Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. That protocol is used for sending and receiving emails, while the HTTP, known as the Hypertext Transfer Protocol, is used for web browsing. So it transfers information from the web server to the web client. And I also mentioned that it's very important that as an ethical hacker, we understand what the hackers may be thinking about when it comes to the application layer. So if they see a web server, what are the things that can come to their mind? What kind of evil act can they commit on the web server or on your website? So that is where we have the web application attack. So they can commit what is known as the SQL injection. And what is SQL injection? Injecting malicious code into the database to see if they can be able to modify your database. This can also perform an attack that is known as cross-site scripting. I mentioned earlier that the cross-site scripting has to do with inserting malicious JavaScript code into your web applications or web services in order to redirect users from a legitimate website to another website. There's also an attack that is called file inclusion. Then I also talked about phishing. Phishing is another form of attack that can be carried out under the application layer. And what does phishing has to do? It has to do with creating fake websites, fake links to redirect victims to a malicious site. This could be sent, that link can be sent maybe to us via email address, via your email. You just see a link on your inbox, click on this, they can send an offer to you. That you need to click this offer, it's going to for you to win a lottery or something that nature. So if you mistakenly click on that link and enter your details, it can direct you to their malicious sites. So as an ethical hacker, it's very important that we understand thoroughly what this layer 7 is all about and what the attackers are thinking about. And of course, there is a tool that you can use under the application layer, and that is Box Suite. You can use it to inspect your web traffic. You can use it to manipulate your web traffic. So if possible, I may also introduce you to that Box Suite if time permits us during the course of this our cybersecurity training. But we might likely look at it, use the Box Suite when we are conducting SQL injection. All right, let's move to the next slide. Okay, now we are moving to IP addressing, subnetting, and routing. But before I move to IP addressing, let me find out now, do we have any question based on this OSI model? Is it clear? Do we have any questions so far? You can, if you don't have any question, you can send the reactions so that we understand. Yeah, I can get that from my ground. I still have, I think Darasim is still on the call, and then Ibrahim. We've not heard from Ibrahim all this while. Are you
Yeah,
driving
okay.
today?
No, I'm here. I'm with you.
Okay, you're not driving today, right?
No,
You're not
no,
on
no,
the
no,
road.
no,
All
no.
right,
I'm at home today.
all right. So you don't have any questions so far, right?
Sorry, I have question rather.
Okay.
Sorry, I just want you to finish and let me ask my question. But the question is, these layers, how, like, I don't understand how we come about these layers because I don't know how to even, like, apply to what we've been doing so far. So I don't understand the layers, like some of the layers, like starting from layers 2.
7.
You
Okay.
understand? So like I followed all the steps that you've
Yeah.
been analyzing. So like I don't just know how to like apply it to what you've been doing.
Okay. Can you see the screen?
Yeah, I can see the screen now.
Yeah. This is where I started from. That starting from the layer 7 down to layer 1.
Yeah.
Did you get it?
Yeah.
Now let me give you a typical scenario. Hmm?
Yeah.
Now let's assume that you want to send a picture to someone
Okay.
via email. Of course, when you open your browser, what do? You go to your Gmail account, isn't it?
Yes.
If you don't have a Gmail, if you have Outlook Express configured on your laptop, you can also use your Outlook Express, right?
Yeah.
If you notice on our mobile phone, there is usually this mail symbol or mail application on our phones.
Yeah.
Have you ever noticed it?
The application. Yes.
Yeah. So that blue envelope, that is called a mail application. Now, of course, you can configure your email on that application, right? When
Yeah.
you configure your mail under that application, the protocol that it is using is known as the SMTP protocol, which is known as the Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. Do you get it?
Yeah.
It's called the SMTP protocol. Now, you have opened your email, you have typed your message, and now you are attaching your what? Your picture. Now, when you click on send, what does it do? As it is leaving your inbox, of course, you know it is going to the recipient, isn't it? Yes, the picture is going to be received by your recipient. But what are the stages that occur between that your email to the point where your recipient, which is your friend, let's say your girlfriend, has received that picture? what happened in between. How does that picture travels? That is what the OSI is all about. So the first thing is that once you send that picture, under layer 6, which is the presentation layer, that your picture is converted. Do you get it?
Yeah.
It's converted, it formats the picture to either the JPEG version. Do you get it?
Yeah.
Now, as it is converted to the JPEG, the session layer takes effect. And what does the session layer do? It establishes connection. Now, as it has established the connection to the network, it now looks at this, okay, the next layer where I'm supposed to send this to, that I've established connection to, is with the transport layer. Now, when it gets to the layer 4, which is the transport layer, the transport will look at it, okay, what are you sending? Oh, it is picture. This picture, this person must receive the picture the same way you have sent it. Oh, which protocol am I going to use under this scenario? Okay, no, I can't use a UDP protocol because UDP protocol is connectionless. It's not reliable. But I need to use the TCP protocol. Okay, fine. You want to use the TCP protocol? Yes, it will mark it. Use TCP protocol to send that picture so that the receiver can get what was sent. So it moves from that transport layer to where the next one is the network. Okay. Now, this person that wants to receive that picture, is this person online? If the person is not online, would the person be able to receive the picture?
No.
No. And what will make that person to be online? That person must have what is called the IP address. Do you get it?
Yeah.
So either the person is using a laptop or the person has a phone. The phone must also have what is called the IP address. I'll still get to that IP address later on and I'll explain everything to you. So the IP address is just like a location to identify you. Do you get it? Am I still online? Okay, yeah, I'm still online. Michael, I will call you once I'm done with that explanation. So now, after identifying that, okay, this person is online, that's fine, and this is the IP address, it sends it to the data link layer. So now, under the data link layer, it looks at the IP address. Okay, yes, this information is going to so IP address. But then, this IP address is under which MAC address? Which physical device actually has this address? So, and that is where the data link layer is connected. Do you get it? And from the data link layer, now looks like, okay, how do I make, what means do I use to transfer this information? Right? What do I mean to transfer this information? And then it is transferred through the physical layer, and that is through your cable. Now, don't forget, this is being sent from your own computer. That is what happened on your own computer. Do you get it?
Mm.
Let me quickly draw this for you guys. Duplicate. Let me see here. Okay. Let me draw another one first. Okay. So this is one PC, right?
Mm.
This is another PC. Let me use test. PC A. PC A. All right. Now, PCA is the one sending the email, right? Which is your system. Can you see? PCA is the one sending this email, right? Now, as the PCA is sending the email to PCB, let's see, can I get it? Good, okay, good. As PCA is sending the email to PCB, on PCA, you have all these functions working. Because it is on from this PCA you have your browser, right? On this PCA you have your browser. It is also from that PCA that your system converts that picture to the MPEG version or the JPEG version. Do you get it? It is also on that PCA that your session is established. And then still on that same PCA, it discusses, okay, how do I send this picture to PCB? Should I use, sorry, Mommy, please, can you mute your device? Hello, Rashidat. Hello, Rashidat. Gideon, can you help us to mute Rashidat? Okay, let's continue. I'm sure something will be done later. So, like I was saying, it is that same PCA where the decision on how to send your pictures will be taken. That okay, no, don't let us use UDP because UDP is unreliable. Let's use TCP. Right? Now, it is still on that same PCA that you have your IP address, because if you don't have your IP address, you'll be able to browse, you'll be able to send an email. So your PCA will have the IP address, will have an IP address, and now that IP address is called the source IP address. Source IP address. The source IP address. Now, after confirming that, okay, fine, your system is on the network, you have an IP address, then it also moves to where the data link layer and then the physical link layer. Now, the physical link layer is how the picture will be sent. Is it going to use a wired network or wireless? Now, imagine it has now been received on PCB. Where do you think on the OSI model your picture will first land on? Will it land on layer 1 or it will land on layer 7? Once your picture is sent from PCA to PCB, as it is getting to PCB, which of the OSI model or layer will it first receive it? Let me know if you understand that. Which of the OSI layer will receive your picture first, or will act first, will be active first before you receive that picture of PCB? Let me see. Can anyone guess?
So please come again with the question.
Okay, let me describe it again. You know, you want to send a picture from PCA to PCB, right? Now, as you are sending the picture from PCA, it follows the OSI layer from the top to the bottom. That is from layer 7 to layer 1. And what is layer 7? Layer 7 is your application. That is where you go to your Gmail or your Outlook Express and compose your message, attach the picture. Now, still on PCA, as you click on send, your PC will convert that picture to a format that can be sent over the network. So the PC converts it, which is the presentation. It converts your picture to MPEG or JPEG version. Still on that PCA, that is where the conversion takes place. Now, after converting it to the JPEG version, it establishes a session, right? After establishing the session, what next? It looks for how to send that picture. Still on that picture PCA, it moves down to the next layer. Okay, how do I send a picture? Should I send it through the UDP or TCP model protocol? Of course, if it's a picture, the person must receive what was sent or what was attached. Okay, so it's going to use the TCP protocol to send it. Now, it moves from layer 4 and jumps to layer 3. Okay, fine. Now, this my PC, does it have an internet? Does it have an IP address? If it does, then it is ticked that, okay, fine, the IP address is working, the system is on the network. Then it moves to layer 2. Okay, now let me confirm the MAC address on this my system. Is this still working, or I'm having a fictitious MAC address? Once it identifies that, okay, the MAC address is the same with what you have or what is configured with the source IP address, then it moves to layer 1. Layer 1 now talks about the means where when the picture will be transferred. The means of transferring the picture. How do you transmit it? Is it through wireless or through network cable? Now, the question is that as it is being sent here from PCA to PCB, which layer will first act from PCB? Will it be layer 1 or layer 7? What will be the first point of layer to as your PCB is receiving the picture? Is it layer 1 or layer 7? That is my question. I think I will simplify it by mentioning that layer 1 or layer 7. So as your picture is landing on PCB, which layer is acting first?
I think it's layer. So can we see that the previous slide, please?
Okay, let me show you. Okay, I'm sorry. Let me do something.
I think it's layer 7 that will act first.
Okay. Why
Because
do you think it's 7?
my reason is because the from PCA to PCB, when the protocols are followed and the image is sent, there has to be a corresponding protocols on PCB that will end up processing the image received till it shows to the end user, which is the layer 1. That's my thinking, though.
Okay, who else wants to try? Sorry. Let me.
I think for me it's layer 7.
You also think it's layer 7, just as he
Yes.
has mentioned.
Yes, and the reason is that it
Okay.
is sent from PCA
Mm-hmm.
to PCB,
Mm-hmm.
and for PCA to send a picture or anything from anything to PCB, it both PC also has an application that that PCB will can also receive from PCA. You understand? The applications is what I feel that matters most. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So can you see this diagram? Can you see my diagram?
Yeah.
Right? Can you all see this diagram I'm drawing?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Now, I've simplified it now. Look at what is happening there. From PCA, that is what I have on my left. You are sending an email, right? So the email moves from your application layer down to where? The physical layer, right? Now, as it is going to the physical layer, it's looking at, okay, how do I send this email? Through what means? Should I use Wi-Fi or should I use RJ45? Right? Are you
Okay.
getting it? Good. So
Yeah.
now, as this picture is getting to PCB, where do you think it will land first?
At the physical point.
Exactly. It will land at the physical point first. Do you get the point?
Yes, yes. Before other protocols will take place.
Exactly. That's the point.
It's like top to bottom, bottom to top.
Exactly. So as it is getting to PCB, it will look at it. Okay. I've received this, because imagine if the network cable is bad. Do you think you'll be able to receive, PCB will be able to receive the picture? It's not possible, right?
Okay.
Yeah. Now let's assume that the network cable is okay, but under the network there is no IP address. Do you think the PCB will be able to receive that picture? It's not possible, right? Because we already mentioned that under the network, which is layer 3, there needs to be what? An IP address. If your system does not have an IP address, will it be able to receive network? No. Now, the other PCB, the cable is working fine. It has been tested. Now, it moves to the data link layer, confirm that your MAC address is intact. And then it goes to where? The number 3, which is your IP address that has been configured. It looks at it, okay, that's fine. My IP address, I'm on the network. I have data. Then from that network, it goes to layer 4. What is that layer 4? That is a TCP and UDP protocol. And TCP has to do with reliable connection. Okay, fine. Now, let me rearrange all the pictures that is sent to me. Although it is one picture, but it has been scattered. The frames of that picture has been scattered. Now, how do I rearrange it? Okay, let me rearrange it in order so that by the time it is getting to the application layer, this person will receive the picture the same way it has been sent. Are you getting it?
Yes, sir.
Good. So now, when it gets to layer 5, it establishes a connection. The layer 5 establishes a connection with layer 6. Upon getting to layer 6, you know what has been converted to what? JPEG. It will now look at it, okay, JPEG is the version of this picture. Oh, that's fine. I know what to do. I will now convert it to normal picture. So layer 6 reconverted that picture that has been received to a JPEG version. And then when it gets to layer 7, you receive it as what? Your email. You receive it on your email address or your email inbox. And that is when you'll be able to have that picture attachment sent to you. I don't know if that explanation, if it is clear now. Let me see. Hello? Is it not clear, Ibrahim?
Yes, it's clear. It's clear now.
Yeah. So
So
that
sorry,
is
what you just explained now is that when sending a picture from PCA to PCB, it
yeah.
has to go through all this process, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now, you know why it is not important that as an ethical hacker we understand what is happening. Imagine at each of those layers, you can you can manipulate the information in each of those layers. Do you get it?
Yeah.
So once you are able to manipulate it, that means that when the other person is receiving the data, he won't be receiving the correct data. Because why? It has been manipulated by hackers. So that's why it is very important that as an ethical hacker, you understand what is happening in that OSI model very well. Do you get the point now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Take for example, we mentioned that layer 7 is the application layer, right?
Yes.
Now, under the application layer, look at what I said can happen. Phishing. One of it is what? And hackers can convert that, can use layer 7 to perform what is known as phishing attack. And what is that phishing attack? You can that an example is you receiving an email, and that email link, you receive a link that, sorry, under your email inbox, you receive a link that you should click on this link to download the picture. Do you get it? Now, the question is that your friend has sent you a picture. Did he send it as a link or as an attachment? But because it has been hijacked by an attacker, the attacker did not change the subject of the email. If he tell you that, okay, take your pictures, you understand? But now, instead of you having your picture sent as an attachment, what you are seeing is click on this link to download your picture. What has happened? An hacker or a hacker has what? Has hijacked that site. It could be done maybe through a man in the middle attack, whereby the hacker intercepts the traffic. And when does traffic interception occurs? We mentioned it earlier on. There are two. Yeah, man in the middle attack, intercepting traffic. Layer 2 data link layer, probably through mark spoofing or something else. Do you get it?
Yeah.
So now let me put it this way. Let me draw another PC. Okay, no, let me draw it. Now, this is an hacker here, right?
Yes.
This is an hacker here. Now, this hacker, where's my inserts? Come on, let me write it very well. Yeah, this is a criminal, an attacker. As you are sending that email, this criminal may be listening on the network, right? He may be listening to the conversation on the network that you are sending and then hijack that conversation. He has received the picture, right? Now, when you receive the picture, can you see? Normally, you're supposed to send that picture from PC-A to PC-B, right?
Mm.
But this time around, there's a criminal in the background that is listening to your traffic, to the traffic. So you now saw that, okay, fine, you have sent a picture to PCB. So instead of PCB receiving that picture, the criminal is the one that received it. Now, that criminal can now convert that picture to a link, a fictitious link, a malicious link, and send to PCB. So as PCB is receiving that picture, PCB thought that picture or that link originates from PCA. Do you get it now? So if PCB is not careful enough, if he opens that link, it will be redirected to the malicious website. Or if possible, if it is a virus, that is how PCB will download
PCA.
PCB will download virus to a system. Why? Because he thought that link originates from where? PCA. So what will the criminal do? You know, we talked about spoofing, IP spoofing earlier. Under the network layer, IP spoofing. Creating a fake source IP address. So PC A has the original source IP address. Now this criminal can spoof the IP address of PCA and create something that is similar. That PCB will thought that okay, this picture I'm receiving is from PCA, not knowing that the criminal has created a fake IP address. He has spoofed the IP address of PCA. I don't know if that explanation is clearer now. Are we still together?
Yes.
All right. So that is why understanding how the OSI layout models, how it works, is very, very important. Now, okay, as a take home, I want you guys to go back home and make further research on both the OSI model. Let me insert. Learn more about the OSI models versus the TCP and IP model. With examples. Examples here. We can use this as our assignment ahead of next week class. Or since we don't have class from now till Friday, you can, if you have made that research, we can make the group interactive. Maybe you can drop it in the group so that we look at it together. So I want you guys to read further on this, the OSI model versus the TCP IP model. If you have any question, you can ask in the group. When I'm free, I'll look at your question and then I will be able to explain it in a way that you understand. Do you get it? So in order not to overwhelm you guys, I think it's good we stop here. So in our next class, we'll continue with IP addressing, subnetting, and routing. IP addressing, subnetting, and routing. They are not difficult to understand. I'll try as much as possible to also make sure that I break it down in a way that you guys will understand. Um, okay, yeah, you have a question, Michael.
Yes, sir. Peter, not to be too forward, I want
Okay,
to clarify something. This
okay.
is the theory aspect of cybersecurity. Am I right?
Yes,
Are we going to have practicals in the same lecture?
yeah, sure. To be introduced when it is time.
Okay. The reason I'm asking is I can see like this example you used today.
Mm-hmm.
I can imagine the it helps us to imagine what happens behind the scene in networks and in messages being sent across systems.
Yeah.
Because the little knowledge I have in, take for instance, web development
Okay.
or app development, is what is the coding, or the coding that is done is what is being used to bring out the beauty of websites and apps. So something is working behind the scene to manifest the GUI people see. So this example really helps me to understand or get the concept of what's going to happen later in the class. So I just wanted to clarify if we're going to have the practical aspect of it as well.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, you are going to have the practical aspect, definitely. So I will take it the practical aspects. When we get to where there is a need for us to have the practical, it is very important for you to understand the fundamentals theory. And that's why I'm
Definitely,
taking
yeah.
it to break it down in a way that you quickly grab it. You
Okay,
understand?
thank you for
Yeah. So it helps you to see what is actually happening. And that's why if you look at it, I try to relate it to what the hackers might be thinking about.
yes, sir.
You understand? What are the
Yes,
hackers
sir.
thinking about at each of these layers? Why should I be concerned? Because it is when you know what the criminals are thinking about, you'll be able to know, okay, what do I do? Take, for example, I mentioned something like a IP spoofing, network scanning. These are practicals we are going to look at.
Okay,
You understand? Yeah, I'm going to show you how to scan the network and all that. I'm also going to show you what some of those attacks are like. Yet,
okay,
so but it's very important that you have a basic understanding of them first before we jump into the main practical of it.
okay, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank God. So don't forget this assignment. I want you guys to read further on these OSI models versus TCP/IP model. Remember that I mentioned that the TCP/IP model has just 4 layers, and they are also the same with the OSI model. So instead of you having the application presentation layer, a session layer, they are all combined together as application layer under the TCP model. The transport layer of the OSI model is the same thing as the transport layer of the TCP model. The network layer is the same thing as the network on the TCP model, but it is called the internet. While the data link and the physical layer, they are combined together in the TCP model to form what is known as the link. So I want you guys to go back again, read about them, look at the examples you can then learn online, and then let's interact in the WhatsApp group. So I'll be able to look at your questions. Whatever you don't understand, I can explain it better to you on the WhatsApp group. Exactly. So do we have any other question? No, any other question? Rashidat, sorry, it's like you come late again today, and you were initially disturbing us with your mic was not muted. But I hope you also got 1 or 2 things tonight. Okay, your mic is still muted. Maybe the admin has finally muted you. All right, so let me just give you a glimpse of what we are going to learn next. We're going to be discussing about IP addressing. We look at what IP addressing is all about. Subnetting, we're going to talk about that. We're also going to look at how to calculate subnet sizes. And then why it is important for us to always use the correct versions of protocols. Why? Because if you don't use the updated versions of protocols, what it means is that you are leaving your system to be vulnerable. And when it is vulnerable, what does it mean? Attackers can penetrate into your network. So I'm going to look at some of those things, some of the recent protocols we need to use in case we are working with the network team as an ethical hacker. You confirm, let me see the protocol working on this type of protocol you are using, which one is the latest one or that. So these are some of those things we are going to enjoy in our next class. But we'll take it bit by bit, little by little, so that you guys can be able to understand it. So this is where I'm going to stop for today. Once again, I really want to thank everyone for joining this class, even though I was a bit late. I think I came 10 minutes after 6 o'clock. So I promise that I'll try and join earlier next time. So thank you very much once again, Ibrahim. Rufus, we did not hear your voice much today. I hope you were able to follow along. Darasimi, were able to get 1 or 2 points. Okay, Ibrahim, it's like you want to talk, but we can't hear you.
No. I'm fine.
Okay, that's fine. That's
Yeah.
fine. So thank you so much once again.
All right.
So your assignment, you can drop it in the group so that all of us can spy and see what you
Okay.
have done. You get. And
Okay.
then if you have any questions too, you can drop it in the group. So I will try as much as possible to answer those questions.
Okay.
All right. So
Thank
once
you. Thank you
again,
very much. Thanks for today.
thank you, Rob. So once again, you guys should have a lovely weekend.
Mm. And
Take
you
care.
too.
Yeah, bye bye.
Yeah. Bye.
Please, sorry, please, let us all fill the attendance link before we leave. Have we all gotten the attendance link?
No, not yet.
All right, please, let's stay on the call so I can share the attendance link with us, please.
Okay.
All right, so please, let's use that link on the chat box. Let us all, fill the attendance with that link on the chat box. Can you all see that link on the chat box there? Let us all use that. And, yeah, so Michael said he has filled his attendance. At least if one more person filled the attendance, Rufus, Ibrahim, and Mohammed. Yeah, that would be great. So let us all fill the attendance and come to the end of the class for today. All right. I guess that's how we come to the end of the class today. Please let's have a lovely weekend and we convene next week. Thank you so much, everyone, and bye bye for now.
gbọ́wọ́ gbọ́gbọ́gbọ́gbọ́ dáadáa system fún wọn kọ́mọ̀ tán àwọn àbí sọ́wọ́n ó bínú kò mẹ́rin ìrírọ̀ ò kò fẹ́ kí n kóhùn wà bẹ́ẹ̀ nígbà tí mo máa kúrò ní ọ̀rọ̀ tó sọ mímú eré bẹ̀ yẹn àwọn yẹn náà wá ń sọ̀rọ̀ lábẹ́ àwọn obìnrin méjèèjì tó ń sẹ́kẹ́tìrì yẹn tó ń ṣiṣẹ́ lọ́dọ̀ ẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ ni èèyàn kan ti ń lò tẹ́lẹ̀ Mariam ni òun ló pé ó lò fi fáìlì kan síbẹ̀ ó ṣe máa fi fáìlì síbẹ̀ ìyẹn jẹ́ àbúrò wọn wọn lábúrò àwọn ni pé òun náà ń ṣiṣẹ́ ń bẹ̀ ó ṣe máa fi fáìlì síbẹ̀ nǹkan tá à ń sọ ni pé èèyàn kan ti ń lò ìfọ́tí ni kẹ́ fún èmi mo ní pé nǹkan tá à ń tà láti sọ ni pé èèyàn kan ti ń lò kó ṣe pé direct ló ṣe wá ẹ fọ̀máàtì ẹ̀ náà ni àbá ń bẹ̀ ẹ wá ń sọ pé tó bá jẹ́ pé ó lò ó ni ó yẹ ká bá kinní kan bẹ̀ ó yẹ ká ṣe wá rí mo ṣe wá mọ Mariam Adébáyọ̀ mo ṣe wá mọ Mariam Adébáyọ̀ ọ̀rọ̀ tó wá ń sọ yẹn báwọn girls yẹn ṣe wá ń bí àlọ́wọ́kọ́ dá mi jókòó bí like 30 minutes ọ̀tẹ̀ ṣe fẹ́ pé èèyàn kan jókòó ó tún sọ pé kó fi sísítẹ́ẹ̀mù hàn mí náà wọ́n tún lo bíi 30 minutes ó tún fi wá lọ lẹ́pọ̀ òun fúnra rẹ̀ ló tún pè ibi kíní yẹn mo ti wo settings ṣe bẹ́ẹ̀ ló ní nǹkan kan báyìí tó máa lò.
Ìbí dẹ̀ ni irọ́ ló máa kọ síbẹ̀.
Ìgbà tí mo
Ọwọ́ náà mo ní ṣẹ́ẹ̀tì sẹ́kọ̀ọ́ ṣáájá ni.
ìgbà tó bá kọ̀ á wò bí ibi tó máa dé wà á fi ẹ̀sìn nílé òkúta.
Ẹ ti wo pé 256 ni ẹ.
Kí ni ìjọsìn wòyàn?
wọ́n jù mọ́ lọ kì í ṣe irú sísítẹ́ẹ̀mù ọ́fíìsì
Ṣé ó ń kọ́ lélẹ̀ ni?
wọ́n fi lọ.
Ó dẹ̀ lè jẹ́ lọ sí edit